I still remember the smell of that hallway, antiseptic mixed with lavender hand cream, and somehow that combination became the smell of the truth. Before I tell you about her, I need to say this once. The people in these stories are real, but names, rooms, and small details have been changed to protect their privacy and the privacy of their families. What happened and what they said stayed exactly as I remember it. I need you to know that so you trust what comes next. 20 years ago, if you had told me I would leave a $200,000 salary to change bedsheets and refill water pitchers, I would have laughed you out of the room. I had the title, the corner office, the assistant who managed my calendar. I had everything a person is supposed to want by year 40. And I was miserable in a way I could not explain to anyone who had not lived it. I will not bore you with why I left. That is a different story for a different day. What matters is where I ended up. A retirement home outside the city, working as an aide, doing work that people with my old resume are trained to think is beneath them. It is not beneath them. It is above almost everything else I ever did. Let me tell you about the woman I will call Eleanor. When I first met her, she was 87 and sharp enough to intimidate half the staff. She had run her own accounting firm for 41 years, built it from a folding table in her garage to a company with 60 employees. She did not need help getting dressed, and she did not want it either. The only reason I got close to her at all was that she liked chess, and nobody else on the floor played. We started with 20 minutes on Tuesday afternoons. Her hands shook slightly by then, so I moved the pieces for her when she pointed. She beat me the first 11 games in a row and made sure I knew the exact number. Over those Tuesdays, I learned the shape of her life in pieces. She had married young, had 2 children, and built the firm mostly on nights and weekends, while her husband handled what she called, without much warmth, the domestic side. She was proud of the business in a specific way, the way people are proud of something that cost them a great deal and that they are not fully sure was worth the price, but have decided not to examine too closely. Her son visited on a Sunday my second month there. I remember it because it was the only time I saw her nervous. She had me help her into a cardigan she did not normally wear, and asked twice if her hair looked all right. He arrived 40 minutes late, spent maybe 25 minutes in the room, mostly on his phone, answering what he said was a work emergency, and left before the coffee I had brought them finished cooling. Eleanor did not mention it afterward. She just asked if I wanted to finish the chess game we had paused. I want to be careful here, because it would be easy to make him the villain of this story. I do not think he was. I think he was a man who learned, from watching his mother, that important people leave the room to take the call. I think he was doing exactly what he had been taught was normal by her. A few weeks later, near the end, she asked me to help her go through an old shoebox of photographs. Most people expect wedding photos, grandchildren, vacations. Instead, I found calendar pages, years of them. She had kept every single day planner from her working life, dated and boxed like tax records. She flipped through them slowly at first, then faster, and started counting something out loud. I did not understand what she was counting until she told me. She was counting empty boxes. Days where the box for family dinner was left blank because she had stayed at the office. She got to 2,000 and stopped counting because her hands were shaking too much to keep flipping. 2,000 missed dinners. Not missed vacations, not missed milestones. Dinners. The small, boring, forgettable thing that costs almost nothing to give and that she assumed she could always make up for later. She told me something I have not been able to shake since. She said the business made her rich enough to buy her children anything except an evening of her attention, and by the time she understood that trade, she had already made it 41 years in a row. Here is what most people get wrong about regret like hers. You probably think the lesson is that she should have worked less and built a smaller company. That is not it. The lesson is narrower and harder to hear. It was never about the hours at the office. It was about the fact that she believed, every single day for 41 years, that tonight's missed dinner did not count because there would be another one tomorrow. Every single night, she was right. Until one year she was not, and the children were grown, and the tomorrows had quietly run out while she was looking at a spreadsheet. She died on a Thursday in March. Her son came, this time for 3 days straight, and I watched him sit by the bed doing absolutely nothing. No phone, no work, just sitting, in a way I suspect he had never once done for her while she was well enough to notice it. At the small gathering afterward, he found me by the coffee station and asked, almost as an afterthought, what she talked about in her last weeks. I told him about the chess games. I did not tell him about the shoebox. Some things a son should find in his own time, or not at all. I have heard some version of Eleanor's story more times than I can count in this job. Different careers, different mistakes, the same shape every time. Nobody on their way out regrets the promotion they missed. They regret the specific, ordinary evening they were physically present for, but mentally somewhere else. A phone call they cut short. A game they watched with one eye on their laptop. A conversation they postponed because they were tired, certain it could happen next week instead. If you're listening to this, and you're 35 or 50 or 62, here is what I need you to actually do, not just nod along to. Tonight, pick one small piece of attention you have been postponing. A phone call to your mother you keep meaning to make. A dinner with your kid where the phone stays in the other room. It does not need to be large. Eleanor's regret was never built from one missed year. It was built from thousands of small nights she assumed did not matter. The people I sit with at the end are not tallying their salaries. They are tallying evenings. And the terrifying part is that nobody tells you which evening is the one that was actually going to count, so you have to start treating tonight like it might be. That is the only warning I can give you from this side of the hallway. The clock does not announce which day is the important one. It just keeps taking them one ordinary evening at a time until somebody is sitting across from a stranger like me counting empty boxes.